Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dimitris Pefanis. I'm the Director for Financial and Business Content at DPG Media, and I'm honored to having a fireside chat at the Thessaloniki Summit with His Excellency Vladimir Chizhov on Russia and the Balkans. It's a very interesting topic, as we can all understand. It's a very timely topic as well. And Mr. Chizhov is one of the key people with deep knowledge of the area, both in geographical terms, but also in terms of the facts and what's going on and the geopolitical issues. His Excellency Vladimir Chizhov is the permanent representative ambassador of the Russian Federation to the European Union. He has also served as an ambassador in Greece among his other posts, and so he's one of the people who have the deepest knowledge and quite a few decades actually of knowledge in the area. So it's really an honor to be talking with you, Mr. Chizhov, Your Excellency. Welcome to Thessaloniki Summit, and for the next 20 minutes we'll hopefully have a very fruitful and very interesting discussion. So, Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours for your initial speech, and then we'll move on with some of the topics that we would like to highlight.
Brussels has lately been frequently provoking an event that took place in the city of Thessaloniki 18 years ago, in June 2003. And the Senate
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. Do you hear me? Hello, I don't hear you. Oh. Hello.
Our people at the control are trying to fix that right as we speak, so hopefully it shouldn't take long, but really distort this. Please have a few moments of patience so we can really have that discussion in a way that everybody can understand what we're talking about. I guess these things happen, especially during live conversation and during the internet era. We really were hoping we would be able to have this discussion live and in person, but I guess circumstances did not allow us. Hopefully we'll be able to do that next year, and that's going to be much, much easier and much more humane to be able to discuss in person right next to each other. Mr. Ambassador, we'll take a small, like a 2-minute break in order to fix the issue, and we'll be back with you once the issue is solved. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. So welcome back, Mr. Ambassador, and welcome back. I guess we have some echo here, but hopefully it will solve itself. I guess I think it's solved. So, Mr. Ambassador, I have a feeling that you cannot hear me, at least the way I'm looking at.
Lot of echo.
I guess we can start from where we left it off. So the idea was to start with your initial presentation. If you can hear me, I guess the ambassador cannot hear us right now. Again, well, technology is not on our side. So I guess we're gradually getting better on this one. Your Excellency, can you hear us right now? I guess the ambassador cannot hear us, so.
I can hear you, but not clearly, as if you are talking from a cave.
Okay, so we can hear you much better compared to what it was before, so feel free to start and we'll be able to work on that as we speak. We'll make it a lot easier if you start speaking. And
okay, I hear you all right.
Okay, great.
Hear me?
Yes, great, Mr. Ambassador.
Okay, I start from the beginning.
Okay, yes, please do start from the beginning. We had the introduction, so the floor is yours now for the initial presentation, and then we can discuss the topics.
Brussels has lately been frequently evoking an event that took place in the beautiful city of Thessaloniki 18 years ago, in June 2003. Actually, one of the previous speakers, my old friend Miroslav Lajcik, mentioned that as well. I'm referring to a summit meeting between leaders of the EU and a number of Balkan countries that aspired to EU membership. At that time, as you may recall, those were Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, the Union of Serbia and Montenegro, as well as Croatia. The declaration adopted as the outcome of the summit stated bluntly, albeit for the first time, that the future of the Balkans is within the European Union, leaving no room for any alternative. I would, however, like to remind you of other events that happened a bit later. On 27th of April 2004 in Luxembourg, Russia and the EU adopted a joint statement on EU enlargement and Russia-EU relations. It reaffirmed mutual commitment, and I quote, to ensure that EU enlargement would bring Russia and the EU closer together in a Europe without dividing lines, inter alia, by creating a common space of freedom, security, and justice. Another year later, on the 10th of May 2015, a further Russia-EU summit in Moscow approved, among other things, a roadmap of a common space of external security. It says in particular, and I quote again, Russia and the EU recognize that processes of regional cooperation and integration play an important role in strengthening security and stability. They agree to actively promote them in a mutually beneficial manner through close result-oriented Russia-EU collaboration and dialogue, thereby contributing effectively to creating a greater Europe without dividing lines. End of quote. Definitely, a lot of water has passed under the bridge since then. Only one country mentioned in the Thessaloniki Declaration, Croatia, has become an EU member. Some of the countries named in the document, actually as FYROM or the Union of Serbia and Montenegro, can no longer be found on the political map of Europe at all. European integration, in spite of all the efforts, has not become and could not have become a panacea for all the problems in the Balkans. No one would dare to call the situation in this part of Europe perfectly stable and predictable today. Russia-EU relations have also undergone changes, not positive, unfortunately, becoming Hellas hostage to an internal conflict in a third country. However, today we hopefully have a chance to build a new sustainable foundation for relations with the EU, which of course would be pointless to try to bring back to the previous system of coordinates, to business as usual. They can be developed, though, using the best practices of past years, including the joint documents I quoted, moving towards a pragmatic partnership that recognizes and respects each other's interests in key areas and regions. In the Balkans, too. The Balkans have always been an important chapter of Russian foreign policy, by virtue of shared history and our long-standing involvement in the processes unfolding there. We have never regarded the Balkans as the soft underbelly of Europe, as the region was often referred to in the West following Winston Churchill. In our view, it is a crucial juncture of a variety of cultures, a region whose unique geographical position has forever defined its special, I would even say fateful, role in world history. Influenced by different civilizations, the Balkans always maintained their identity and originality, its distinctive spirit, and so to speak, their own truth. Recognizing and respecting the Balkans' particular features, Russia has never sought to gain any political, military, or economic advantage in its engagement with the countries of the region. Instead, we believe that establishing constructive and mutually beneficial cooperation is key to stability, security, and social and economic prosperity in the region. Unfortunately, in the West, there have always been and still are people who, for inexplicable reason, find it beneficial to create new hotbeds of tension in relations with Russia. Just remember recent events in the Baltics, countries of Central and Eastern Europe, or for that matter, Ukraine, if you want to realize how disastrous such destructive activities can turn to be. Here too, the Balkans have long been diligently turned into an area of confrontation with Russia. We see that an inherently false artificial choice is often imposed on the countries of the region, either forward towards a bright Euro-Atlantic future or back to the dark past with Russia. Against the backdrop of events around Ukraine, for instance, we cannot fail to notice the pressure that has been and continues to be exerted on the Balkan countries to force them to join EU sanctions against Russia without any regard to specific national interests and traditional ties. A country neighboring Greece has even had to alter its name for the sake of Euro-Atlantic integration, a change made disregarding the opinion of the majority of its population. The flawed Western policy of drawing regional states into NATO, another matter lacking consensus in the Balkan society, adds fuel to the flames. In 21st century Europe, such methods of building political alliances having nothing to do with democracy are unacceptable and even dangerous. We never opposed EU enlargement. Moreover, and here I quote again the already mentioned joint statement on EU enlargement, in our opinion, which was back then in 2004 entirely shared by the EU leadership, the enlargement can offer new opportunities to strengthen Russia-EU partnership, as the accession of new members will also increase the interdependence of Russia and the EU, stemming from our geographical proximity and political, economic, and cultural ties. On the other hand, we oppose the transformation of the Western Balkan countries' European aspirations into a tool of unfair political and economic competition. It is counterproductive to view Southeastern Europe exclusively as a sphere of one's influence and impose European integration for all its appeal as an option with no alternative. We are convinced that mechanisms should and can be found to enable countries of the region to benefit from their geographical position and close interaction with partners both in the West and in the East. Finding a proper balance between the Balkan states' course towards EU integration and their interests in relations with non-EU countries is quite feasible. We do not want the Balkans to become an area of geopolitical and geo-economic confrontation, especially today, when cooperation of all states is needed to counter common challenges. The major ones include nuclear security, international terrorism, protecting the environment, countering climate change, and infectious diseases. Regional and transnational divisions also persist. Unresolved Serbian-Kosovo tensions remain explosive and need to be resolved on the basis of UN Security Council Resolution 1244. Attempts to implement the idea of a greater Albania can aggravate post-conflict normalization in the territory of former Yugoslavia. Intra-Bosnian processes require attention. As someone who has been dealing with the Balkans, with Balkan affairs for more than a quarter of a century, I couldn't have imagined that years later, Russia would become the most consistent and active defender of the Dayton architecture of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The reality, however, is that today it is a real guarantee of peace and stability. There is much speculation about modernizing and adapting it to certain standards, but it doesn't stand up to serious criticism. None of the concepts being promoted can achieve the vital internal balance between the interests of the three peoples in the Bosnian context that Dayton envisages. Implications of new experiments can be quite dire. Effective solution to these and other deep-rooted problems of the region, as well as promotion of its peaceful, sustainable development, can only be achieved by working together in strict compliance with international law. Russia, for its part, is open to close cooperation both with its Balkan partners and other players with a view to reconciling existing differences in the region. Thank you.
I think technology is not on our side today, but we're working on this one now. You're not getting any sound there. I can see that. I'm afraid we do have problems with connection issues. Can you hear us now, Ambassador? No, Ambassador cannot hear us, so I'm sorry, but we do need to cut this one short due to the... we did have, His Excellency, the Ambassador did raise quite a few interesting points, and it would be great if we would have the ability to discuss those points with him, but I guess technology is not on our side. Hopefully we'll be able to redo this conversation, most preferably in person, and to touch on the topics discussed. Once again, I'd like to thank His Excellency Ambassador Vladimir Chizhov on his speech and on the topics he raised, and there'll be it's a lot of fruit to think about during our next discussions during the Thessaloniki summit, but also in the future, because the relationship between Russia and the Balkans, the Western Balkans, and Greece in particular, is always interesting and always has a lot of topics in the agenda. Once again, thank you, Your Excellency. It was nice talking to you despite the technological issues.